everyone. Welcome to A Girl, a Guy, and a Buffy podcast. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Charles Swint.
And I'm your other host, Kate Balzer.
We are two friends who've been watching Buffy since the beginning. We are not a rewatch podcast, but we do explore the big bad themes of the show, and this podcast is full of spoilery goodness. So if you have not watched the entire series and don't want to be spoiled, press pause now. Hey, Kate.
Hey, Charles.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
We're back for our last episode,
Yeah, we saved a juicy one for the last episode. At least I think it's juicy.
Save the best for last. Really kind of is sort of the crux of Buffy
Mm,
and Angel,
I would
really.
agree. I would agree.
For our last episode, we are going to be diving into Buffy, but also Angel.
Yes, big spoilers for Angel.
Yes, huge spoilers for Angels. So again, we don't usually talk about Angel so much, but due to the topic, we needed to delve into that. So again, here's your spoiler alert. Finish Angel, come back, listen to that one.
Right.
Continuing our question, our big bad theme of power and consequences and control, all of that sort of leads to one final thing. So when you have power and you use it and all of those things, there are consequences, and we've been talking about that. So dealing with the consequences and approaching redemption, what is redemption?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a big part of both series, definitely Buffy and Angel. And to me, before you delve into that question, the way you really have to center it is in what is Joss Whedon's belief system, which is humanism. It's such a core part of how he wrote the show. And so you have to really approach it to me from that perspective because Joss Whedon is not a religious person. In fact, he considers himself an atheist. And that has been said in multiple places. I'm not putting words in his mouth. So, what is humanism as a belief system? It's basically an outlook or a system of thought attaching prime importance to human rather than divine or supernatural matters. Humanist beliefs stress the potential value and goodness of human beings, emphasize common human needs, and seek solely rational ways of solving human problems. So that definition comes from Oxford Languages via Google. And then the other definition I wanted to throw in there is from the American Humanist Association, which they actually have quite a few different definitions that are all just like a variation on each other, but essentially have the same basis. And that is a progressive philosophy of life that, without theism or other supernatural beliefs, affirms our ability and responsibility to lead ethical lives of personal fulfillment that aspire to the greater good. It's a belief system that is centered in humans and humanity and not in a greater divine supernatural idea.
Be good people because you are good as a person, not because some divine being has told you that these are the rules of being a good person.
Right. And I think when you realize, like when you read that definition, and then you take a look at the shows, you can absolutely see how Joss Whedon applied that to both series. I mean,
Yeah.
it was very humanistic in its belief systems. While a lot of the stuff with the vampires may pull on Christian iconography, it was not a Christian show. The only mention of religion is really when Willow offhandedly is always reminding people that she's Jewish.
Right. Yeah, there's
You
that. I mean,
know,
but if you look at Wicca as a religion,
that's true.
I mean, I think there's a little bit of a mix in there because I think there is that, but because of the basis of the show and the characters, there needs to be some religious bent in there a little bit, but it's not like Buffy is like a Catholic schoolgirl. It's not her god against the evil
Right.
vampires of the world or whatever. It's
Right.
much more centered. It's interesting that he is a humanist, but he does, at least an Angel, does sort of create his own religion, as it were, for Team Angel because of the powers that be. These higher
Mm,
beings that we never see, that sends Cordelia visions, and they are expected to follow those things on good faith. They are working for the powers that be. Granted, there are some physical conduits to that, but they never actually know who the higher power is. So they are technically working for a higher power of good, but they have given it a persona, I guess, or a name.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's no acolytes on the ground preaching a particular belief or philosophy. Or there's no, there's no version of the like the powers that be's Bible or anything like
Right,
that, or
yeah.
Testament or Quran or anything like that. So,
So it's definitely not like an organized religion in the way
right.
that we would think about it. But Lauren is like, oh, but there are conduits to the powers that be, whether it's the two people in like season 1 and 2 that the oracles, or
Hmm.
Lorne or Cordelia, or like
Right.
there's always a way to get there. And
Right.
even Wolfram and Hart has their own version of that, with the senior partners being sort
Right.
of these otherworldly, we're just following the orders of the senior partners, like that
Right.
good versus evil tale.
Right. But it's almost like more that they're higher levels of supernatural beings
Hmm.
versus them being some sort of god that creates what we would consider like a religious belief system.
That's true too. Yeah, they are working for the greater sort of cosmic balance of,
Right, right. And very specific to the supernatural realm.
yeah.
And that's sort of the same thing. Really, there's a little bit of it in Buffy because where do the Slayer dreams come from?
Hmm.
I think the implication is some sort of the powers that be, whatever that means. They don't delve into that as much the way they do in Angel.
Hmm.
So I think understanding that that's where his philosophy comes from is where you have to start the discussion of redemption. So, what is redemption in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, the series?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be exploring all of those. I mean, and redemption, when we talk about redemption, which
Mm,
has a lot of different meanings, but I
right.
think we're looking at it from like the action of saving or being saved from sin or evil or something like that, finding your way either from darkness into light, or trying to maintain the balance of light over darkness in some form or fashion.
I think in general, what the show is saying is that pretty much everyone, it's not a blanket application to everyone, but almost everyone deserves the opportunity for redemption, but it's hard work and it's every day. And sometimes you're going to fall down and make mistakes. But the point is to get back up again and try again because that's all you can do. Like if he doesn't believe in a higher power, so there's not necessarily a reward, So like in Christian religions that you're going to go to heaven, or you actually any of the Judeo-Christian religions that you're going to go to heaven, which is basically kind of like the Shanshu for Angel, they're to work towards something. He doesn't believe that, so his shows don't say that. It has to be because it's the right thing to do, because it's worth doing it, because all you're doing it for is yourself and to be a better person for the rest of the world.
As we go along this discussion, and the more that I think about it, I actually
Hmm.
think that he does actually put in a lot of religious things when we look at all of this stuff. Talk about Angel and the Shanshu prophecy. Like
Hmm.
like there is this like higher thing that happens. There is a reward at the end. When Buffy dies at the end of season 5, she goes to a heavenly dimension. She
Hmm.
is in heaven, and then is ripped out. So he introduces these ideas of an earthly reward if you do good. Angel gets sent to hell. And so he puts a lot of that heaven and hell into his work, even for someone who is a humanist. But I think that is the nature of the show, or at least the ideas of this balance of good versus evil.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think sometimes it's probably the fact that that's just the common language in our society. All societies have their own version of that. In some degree, it was probably the easiest way to shortcut that because we know that language, but we know very much that like it is not the perspective he was coming from. Now, whether you believe he personally lives up to that humanism as his belief is a question for another day. But
Yeah.
we do know that was the driving force or one of the driving forces of how he wrote this both series. So again, just having to put that in perspective as we have that discussion. What you were saying about Buffy gets a reward and Angel is working towards this potential reward. But faith And Willow, that's never, and Anya, it's never part of their redemptive, not even, and Spike even.
Hmm.
Like Spike goes into the Chosen episode not thinking I'm going to do this, become a champion, and then I get to go on to heaven.
Buffy doesn't necessarily even do it thinking that, oh, well, if I do this, I will go to heaven. It's just I get to rest. I get to, like, it's not
Right.
really like stated, well, this is what's going to happen. But then retroactively, what he does is he introduces this idea, well, she was
Correct.
in heaven. Or when Angel is trying to destroy the world, I'm sending him back to hell. Like he gets sucked into hell. So they talk
Right.
about hell dimensions. They talk about heaven and hell in terms of otherworldly dimensions. Connor gets taken to a hell dimension.
I think that's just again about how it's an easy shortcut in language that they're just, basically they're awful, the worst kind of places you can imagine. Whether you believe in Christianity or not, we all know what the Christian idea of
Of
hell
hell
is
is,
and
yeah.
and heaven. I didn't think about this before until you were just saying this, but it's kind of funny. It just makes me think that like Buffy's heaven is just to be like, I need a big long nap.
She was just sleeping.
She's like, I just need a rest. I don't
Yeah,
like that's it. Like I don't need, some grand like paradise in
right.
my
She's
heaven. Just let me chill out.
maybe go shopping, get my hair done, get my nails did. And the Scoobies do talk about it when they find out that she was, ripped from heaven. They're like, well,
Yeah.
what was it like for her? What does that look like? But Tara says that there are thousands of heavenly dimensions. So it's
Hmm.
not just the one. So he's playing on this, not this sort of like monotheistic,
Right.
viewpoint of
Right.
heaven and hell. It is sort of all things all at once.
And then of course, and we'll get into this when we break down each of the main characters' redemption arcs, but you also can't discuss redemption in the Buffyverse without discussing souls and what a soul is. So it's interesting. I looked up just like a general definition of soul because again, a lot of times we'll throw around words and it's like we kind of know what it means, but do we really like, could we fully define it if we were asked to? And so this came from Britannica, and the definition in Britannica was soul in religion and philosophy, the immaterial aspect or essence of a human being, that which confers individuality and humanity, often considered to be synonymous with the mind or the self. In theology, the soul is further defined as that part of the individual which partakes of divinity and often is considered to survive the death of the body. And so, just a caveat on that, of course, there are so many variations on religion and culture, and they all have their own take on soul. So, some of them match that more similarly, and some have a definition that's a farther away from that sort of common definition. But I think what's interesting to me about that is essentially it's about who you are, like your internal essence, what
Hmm.
makes you you, and often the belief that it continues on after your physical body has died away. That to me is not at all what a soul is based on Angel and then later Spike in the Buffyverse. How about
No,
you?
and I agree with that because when I was looking up the soul and found sort of those same sort of definitions that you were talking about like this idea of perfect good and all of this other stuff, I chose to look up like what is soul in Buffy, which is actually a very different thing because in Buffy the soul was an essence of an individual associated with their consciousness and remorse, and it grants the being the capacity for guilt and empathy and the ability to choose between good and evil, allowing for like genuine happiness, love, and selflessness. So making those distinctions, which actually I don't think they do a really good job of,
Hmm.
distinguishing between sort of fundamentally being an ensouled like a human being versus someone who is unensouled like a vampire or a demon.
Hmm.
And it's in the demon realm where that idea of a soul gets really, really muddied
Hmm.
because we have seen there are good demons. There are demons who don't want to do harm. There are demons who actually want to help society. So do they have souls or not? Based on the idea that if you don't have a soul, then you're just going to run amok and do whatever you want to and cause chaos and murder and destruction. In Buffy, it's very nebulous in that way, and they're
Hmm.
very unclear about it. There are no truly clear definitions.
Yeah, I would agree. So it's funny that your initial description from what you found when searching like what is a soul in Buffy, I in my own notes had basically the same thing. My note was more like a conscience and a sense of doing right.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I got to define conscience. I mean, I know what it is, but I wanted to have like a clear definition. And this is again by Google through Oxford Languages, an inner feeling or voice viewed as acting as a guide to the rightness or wrongness of one's behavior. And I was like, that's a soul in Buffy. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Angel's soul, and that's Spike's
R-
soul for sure. It's a conscience.
right. It's the thing that says do the right thing, do the right thing, do the right thing, because it's the right thing to do.
Correct. Yeah, because I mean, obviously, Angelus and Spike pre-Soul know what right or wrong is. They're not
Right.
stupid.
Right.
They're not uneducated in that way. It's just they don't care.
Right. Because the soul doesn't allow for them to have remorse or any kind of like
Correct.
feeling about it. So it's like, who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I do bad things
Right.
anyway because I don't care.
Right.
Um,
But then we have examples in the Buffyverse of like Clem and Lorne and even like oh God, Merle, that was his name,
Merle.
Merle. Like Merle's not necessarily a bad guy. He's just
Yeah.
like kind of a stoolie. We do have these range of examples, and I agree. Like I think they delve into that range much more in Angel than you do in Buffy, but I think that's partly having a Hellmouth versus not having a Hellmouth.
Hmm.
So you have all these examples of are they good demons, quote unquote, or they, of course, demons can have consciences. Some do, some don't, but like all of them have a soul because all of them have an inner sense of who they are and sense of being.
It's murky. It's a really
Hmm.
easy sort of shorthand to be like, well, this person doesn't have a soul, i.e., is an evil person. So when Spike does good things despite not having a soul, it gets tricky to me because it's like, well, I have a soul, so I don't care about anything
Hmm.
and I don't have any remorse for anything, but I can love you, or whatever that looks like. Because we see it with Angel and Darla. Like, I think with Angel and Darla, we see like true, genuine love between the two of them. At least, I mean, as again, it's hard, it's tricky because you've got humans playing unsold things, and so
Yeah.
and you're playing it for the drama and all of that stuff. But but then we see people with souls still making terrible choices.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
even Angel with a soul is not necessarily the best
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. I mean, look at Faith, look at Willow, look at
Yeah,
Wesley, look at, like, look at Justine, look at Holtz.
yeah.
They're all humans with quote unquote souls, and they've all,
And I
gone
guess
gone down a dark path.
Yeah, and I guess it also, which again, a soul does not mean that you cannot go down a dark path. Like
Right,
just because
right.
those are humans, especially when you're talking about like someone like Wesley or Holtz, who I think actually are doing it because they believe that it is the right thing to do.
There's that aspect too. Correct.
So which in Angel we get a lot more of that gray area of people becoming the villain of the story because
Hmm.
they think they are doing the right thing because the villain never thinks that they're, except
Right,
in the form of Wolfram and Hart, who
right.
fully know that they are doing the wrong thing, don't care about doing the wrong thing, and are actually sort of reveling in the fact that
Yeah,
that's what they do, that's their brand.
yeah,
And that is a place filled with humans with souls.
yeah. I would say that about Darla and Angelus too, that they very much know what they're doing and they just don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they know they're the villain. They're not
Yes.
pretending that like, oh, my cause is righteous. They're like, no, I just,
Right. They're just villains. And
yeah,
and Drusilla's
yeah,
the same way. Like she's not like out here trying to be like has some righteous cause or anything,
right, right.
you know. I think that falls more into the line of the humans on the show for the most
Yes,
part,
yeah,
give or take. That is not a blanket statement for every human on the show because there are some humans who just do stuff because they're terrible people.
yeah. I would agree. They came up with the sole idea for Angel because it made for an interesting story arc and like the idea again of the high school is hell metaphor and you sleep with your boyfriend and he turns evil. And so the way to do that is like, the curse was broken. And yes, it makes for a great storyline for that moment, but like they don't think about the storyline consequences down the road. And so we're kind of now left with this mess, but at the same time, I think it makes it interesting. Like we're obviously having an interesting discussion about it. So I like go back and forth because part of me is like, I wish you had thought more about the like story consequences down the line and like defining what all this means. But at the same time, it does allow room for other stories to come in and out, and you're not like set by a defined term of what all this means. What do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, I mean,
Any thoughts on that?
on that, yeah, I mean, I think the idea of Angel Soul and like to be perfectly honest, my thought on Angel's soul and the Angel Angelus of it all is very I liked the story that it played out in Buffy. I thought it was great. I thought it was
Mm-hmm.
incredibly smart and exactly what the show needed and
Yeah.
made a lot of sense for the metaphor and all of that. I think it is overplayed and overused in Angel the series.
Yeah.
I think they use it too much as a crutch because they need David Boreanaz to play more than just broody, whiny. I'm so sad. I've been burned with a soul. I killed so many people. Oh, look at me. I'm sitting. I'm so sad to me. You don't understand how hard it is for me to be trying to be good. Like it's like it's so one note for so
Mm-hmm.
long. So they have to like
Yeah.
keep going back to that well, which is ridiculous because actually the well that they should have been going to was like, let's make Angel funnier. Let's make
Yes.
Angel like more connected to humanity as the show goes
Mm-hmm.
on so that he can be a little bit more like, haha, because funny Angel to me is actually the best Angel.
Yeah, more awkward trying to like be in the world Angel would have been
Yeah.
like way more interesting. Okay, that being said, I love the way David plays Angelus. Like in some ways, like I feel like
Hmm.
his next role should be an evil character, like
Hmm.
where he just is a bad guy. Because he like even though it was a waste of a storyline when they brought Angelus back in season 4, like I was so excited for Angelus to turn, like to be brought back.
Yeah.
And I was like, wah, wah. But I did enjoy seeing him like
Yes.
be Angelus.
His portrayal of Angelus is
Correct.
great. Like he
Correct.
does Angelus really, really well. And
Yeah.
again, because it has these levels, and quite frankly, Angelus is very funny. Angelus is like
Yeah.
snarky and a little like he's a little looser. He's a little like I mean, he's not burdened with the soul, obviously, so he doesn't care.
Right.
Watching Angel like brood all the time just got so boring. It's like, come on.
Yeah. It's like, well, okay, we get it. Like, move on, dude.
You're broody, we get it.
Yeah. Okay. So Angel's redemption story arc.
Here's the thing. I said this in one of our other, maybe I said it in one of our other episodes, or maybe it was offline or something. But in season one of Buffy, in the
Hmm.
episode Angel, to me, if you watch that episode, you can see Angel's entire story arc for his time on Buffy in that one episode.
Hmm.
Boy meets girl, boy kisses girl, boy changes, girl gets scared, boy runs away. That's it. Those are the
Yeah.
beats. That's what happens in Angel, and that's episode of Angel, and that is literally the beats of their relationship. It was foretold.
Yeah. Which is crazy because it's not necessarily the long-term plan because they didn't realize until I only have eyes for you, the depth of David's ability to play that character. And that's
Right.
when they got the idea to do a spin-off. So yeah, it's not like they planned this from
Planned
the
it. Yeah.
beginning. So it's funny that like it was sort of inherently there.
Yeah. It's all right there.
Yeah, even
Um,
if it was just in the subconscious back of their mind,
mm. And it happens a
Um,
lot in Buffy. I think that happens a lot that they're like didn't
yeah.
plan things, but like things sort of like come to fruition sort of
Yeah.
retroactively because they were like, well, that's
I
who these people are.
Yeah, I think I said this in a previous episode, or maybe it was offline, but well, and we can delve into it more when we get to her storyline. But I think about that in Willow's arc. Like, at
Mm,
what point were they realizing like they had the potential to take Willow down that path?
right.
And it wasn't just like these moments popping up when it was coalescing into like the bigger picture. That's one thing I wasn't have never been able to find
Yeah, I
any
don't
sort of
know.
quote on that, other than I know that originally she was going to be the season 5 big bad, but they didn't want to do it yet, and so they pushed it to season
To
6.
season six. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, but yeah, it is interesting. That's so funny that in that the episode of Angel on Buffy.
Right. The episode
The
Angel on
episode entitled Angel
Angel on Buffy. Yeah.
encapsulates his Buffy story arc.
Yeah. I noticed that kind of on the last rewatch. I was like, God, this is
Yeah.
literally their entire relationship.
Yeah.
He
Really
li-
good point.
he lies to her. He stalks, like all of that stuff. It exists all within that. Which again, it's a good blueprint. Like
Hmm.
whether or not they intended it to happen that way or not, like they had the blueprint right there. So it was something that they could, go back to and be like, who is this person? And then him leaving it to go to LA to sort of find his soul purpose, to like figure out what he's going to do, which is, to help the helpless. Angel Investigations, we help the helpless. Like that's
Yeah.
what we're doing here. That's the mission statement of everything that happens in an Angel, except not always.
Yeah.
Except when Angel doesn't feel like it.
Yeah. When he gets sidetracked by Darla, when he gets sidetracked by Holt, when he gets sidetracked by Wolfram and Hart.
Right. When there's other things that he would rather do than helping the helpless, or when helping the helpless only serves him,
Correct.
then he will do that. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, we've talked about this in other episodes from this season, but in particular for this season, we really put together watch lists of episodes that we wanted to watch, rewatch for the episode discussion. And so really delved into a lot of Angel episodes, obviously for this discussion because so much of his redemptive story arc takes place on Angel. And having done that, watched some of those key episodes, his story is the least interesting to me. That's just
Hmm.
my personal take. There's a lot of talk, and you're right. There's a lot of like he says he's there to help the helpless, but then it seems like after season one, he is distracted all the time by other things. And that he, is constantly making the same mistakes. And I get it. Like, I know he's not human, but like he's human-esque. And humans make mistakes, but it feels like he's constantly doing the same things over and over. He should have listened to Faith when she told him what's the definition of insanity.
Right.
It's, doing the same
Just
thing over and over again, expecting different outcome. And that really, I mean, honestly, is kind of what Angel does on Angel.
yeah.
Like it just, and then, he has all these people in his corner way more than like Buffy ever does. She forms her own team, and he's got like the powers that be, and he's got Wolfram and Hart because he's mentioned in at least one prophecy, and then he's got his team, and like his team even gets a conduit to the powers that be, and like he and all this, oh, you're a hero, you're a champion, like reminding you to get back on the path of like your
Hmm.
redemption. I'm like, he doesn't do a very good job. I'm sorry.
They uplift Angel so
Hmm.
much more
Hmm.
and give him such a broader and more like competent support team. His IT team is way, way, way better than Buffy's. But and
Yeah.
like also like from a friendship standpoint, like, they are actively trying to, especially Cordelia, she is like always
Hmm.
actively trying to be like, you need to get out and do something other
Right.
than just brood and try to be a hero all the time. Like you need to
Right.
like go have fun. Honestly, half the time I think they go to Caritas not just because they're like, we need our oars read or whatever. They're like, we just need to go sing. We need you to sing some karaoke just to sing some Mandy, get it done, and like at least you're doing that. But again, it's all in
Yes.
service to, you know, him.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, it's crazy how much is in service to Angel and his redemption path, and he is constantly missing the mark. Like, and you know what it is? It's too much that he wants to go it alone,
Hmm.
and he is cutting himself off. And like that never changes enough until like maybe the end when he actually talks to his team and says, but even at that point, he's already basically planned to take down the circle of the Black Thorn.
Yeah.
But he goes everything alone. He makes those decisions. He made those decisions for Buffy when he left her, when he
Yeah.
turned back time, when he was human, what he does for Connor. I mean, and I know Connor thanks him in the end, and that's fine. But like there is a pattern of him consistently like
Yep.
making decisions for people and not talking to them
I
and not actually being a part of a team and a true partner.
and also the consequences of making those decisions, because like
Right.
you were saying, like he does it for Buffy, he does, like I just watched that episode because when they start that episode, when Lila comes and says, hey, we're offering you Wolfram and Hart, the first thing out of his mouth is, we're not going to do it, you would be stupid to do it, if that's your choice, I'm not going to make you do it, is literally the words that come
Yep.
out of his mouth. And then by the end of the episode, he has made a decision for all of them, and again makes their memories go away so that they don't remember Connor, because he makes a selfless
Hmm.
choice to protect his son
Hmm.
at all costs, and everyone else's lives be damned.
Yeah.
And they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think I didn't really actualize this thought before, but in talking about this, it really is because he cuts himself off. I think if
Hmm.
he had gotten out and actually engaged in humanity the way the show kept telling him to do, but he never
Right.
actually like does, it would have made a difference. I think because a great comparison to that is Spike.
Yes.
Now, when Spike gets the chip, part of the reason he slowly starts to change a little bit is because he's forced to be amongst the humans and see them as real people. Now, it doesn't fully change him. I get that, but it puts him on the right path. Now, again, like, it's two examples. Like, God knows every individual is individual in a lot of ways. So all these redemption paths may not have been the same, like if this happened to other vampires. I mean, it certainly is interesting to compare those two arcs. And so I do think a core part of it is getting back into life and interacting with people. And in fact, I think that's actually true in both Willow and Faith and
Hmm.
Jonathan and Andrew and Anya's storylines as well.
Yeah. I think it's also about how, I think when you're talking about, I'm going to redeem myself. So going back to Angel, right? So
Mhm.
Angel gets his soul. Darla immediately turns on him, which is weird, but also I get it. He is choosing this sort of like self-flagellation, like over and over and over again. And to me, redemption means that the first person that you have to forgive is yourself. And Angel never, ever, ever, ever forgives himself for the things that like, no matter how much good he does, no matter what happens, he never forgives himself. And so I don't think Angel can ever truly be redeemed because he refuses to forgive himself for his past actions.
I 100% agree. I think that's so spot on. In fact, when I was taking my notes on the rewatching of the various Angel episodes, like I made various versions of that same comment over and over again. It's like, yes, he's got to let it go at some point.
Right.
You
Get
don't
over it.
you don't forget what you did, but if you don't move on from it, all you do what Angel does, you just wallow over
Hmm.
and over and over again, and you can't move forward. And I think this whole thing where like early on they were like, a vampire never changes. That's not true. That's Angel. Because
Right.
look at Spike. Spike, I mean, Spike changed with the times. He was like way into punk and, like granted he kind of stopped at that but era, but like so do other people.
Right.
You
Some
know.
people get stuck in an era. It's
Right, but
fine.
like he would eat food and he would like, and he knew pop culture and he would read and like Angel, but yeah, just wouldn't let himself feel and engage and he just wouldn't let that go so that you can't grow as an individual being.
Yeah.
I think just because you're immortal doesn't mean you're not going to change over time.
Right. I
It,
think you have to change
I
over time.
agree.
I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's part of it. And I think there's this whole idea that like once he learns about the prophecy that, sometimes I think there's parts of it, not completely, but there's a moment where I feel like his motivation changes because he thinks
Mm-hmm.
the prophecy is about him. And I think he never truly stops thinking that it's about him. He
Uh-huh.
just allows himself not to think that it's real or whatever, because when we go into season 5, when he and
Mm-hmm.
Spike are racing for the cup,
Mm-hmm.
he is when Spike beats him, he is doing everything he can to make it about him. He is
Mm-hmm.
like, this is a burden. Having a soul is a burden. And that's the thing, even in redemption, he makes it sound like it's this like weight and cross to bear No, it's actually the absolute opposite. Redemption means that you are free from those burdens. It is
Hmm.
not this like burden that you have to care. Being a hero should not feel like a burden to you. It should be the thing that you want to do because you want to do good things, not because you think you're going to get the reward at the end.
Yeah, I think that's so perfectly said. Yes, I agree. I had the same thoughts when I was watching those episodes. I totally agree.
Oh, Angel just drives me crazy. Like he did, like as a character, Angel drives me really, really
Yeah,
crazy.
he drives me bananas. I know. I just want to sometimes punch him.
I just want to give him a share and be like, slap out of it.
Oh my God, totally. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's so crazy. It's just it's like, come on, dude. Like you
Yeah,
have all of these things going for you. Like
yeah.
you can't be the martyr all the time.
I mean, I think some of it you could argue the once we learn more about Liam, Liam
Hmm.
was very self-centered and he was very hedonistic. And I think some of that still lives in Angel. Not the hedonism part, kind of like you're like, dude, let's maybe embrace that a little.
Right, you could touch that a little bit more. Like, go have a drink, but you like
Yeah.
have a
But
sea
that,
breeze. It's
yeah,
fine.
right, exactly. Have a blood spritzer.
Right, it's something. You can still drink. Like it's not like
I guess, right?
Franco's drinking all the time and eats blooming onion. Like it's not like you have to like completely be like, I'm only drinking blood because I'm,
Right.
it's like, come on, dude. Live a little.
Yeah. But the self-involved part, I think, never goes away. It's
Hmm.
always about him.
Hmm.
And like he never gets over himself. So like in the beginning, it's just like he's selfish and hedonistic. And then he becomes like that to the extreme as an evil vampire. But then when he gets his soul, it's all about, oh, poor me, as you said earlier. And he never gets over that. Like,
Yeah.
dude, get over yourself. Like, focus on the outside world. As Cordelia said, spank your inner moppet.
Right. Get
And
over
she
it.
told Buffy she needed to say that to Angel. I mean, she did in various ways, but
Yeah.
like he needed some sort of, harder wake up call.
Yeah, and they keep trying too, and they try over and over and over again. It's like you guys, if they weren't working together, if they didn't need to work together, I wonder how long they would have stuck around. Because even like he pushes them away so many times, and
Yes.
when he fires them, when he's like held up in his room, and I know that the thing with Darla and all of that stuff was like mystically charged and all of that stuff. So
Right.
I'll give him a little bit of a pass on that. But it does sort of but it still like leans into the very base nature of who he is, which is
Hmm.
this loner, you know. And so
Yeah.
if you want to be redeemed, Angel, by any stretch of the imagination, it's not just enough to do good deeds.
Yeah.
I I don't think that that's enough to be like, well, I'm redeemed now. I think it means changing your viewpoint on the
Hmm.
world. I think it means you change, like you doing good deeds and doing what's right is the first step to redemption, and doing those good deeds then changes how you view the world, how you view yourself in relation to the world, and how can you become a better, lighter, higher being
Hmm.
in the sense of it, as opposed to constantly dragging yourself down. Every
Yeah.
time you have a win, you're like, but it's not enough. It's never, we'll never stop fighting. It's not, it's like, take the win, man. Just take the win and be like, you know what? Today was a
Right.
good day. Today
Right.
was a good day.
Exactly.
And
100%.
we'll do it all again tomorrow.
Yep. Yep. Which actually he's much better at preaching than practicing because this
Yes.
kind of leads into our next character. But I think about all his moments with faith, particularly on Angel. You have the 5x5 in Sanctuary, and then the end scene between them, Judgment, the season 2 opener, and then obviously when she returns in season 4 to help capture Angelus, and then their dream walk. He kind of, I mean, that's what he's telling her. And I feel like she does a better job. Now, granted, she doesn't have 200 years of, evil in her past the way he
Sure.
does. So I get it. He has more to overcome.
Sure. There's a lot more burden to
Correct.
overcome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I get that. But yeah, he's really good with her on those, moments. Like I just think about I love the scene when he visits her in prison and the conversation between them and she tells him, "Oh, someone, a fellow female prisoner came after me today with a knife, and then I stopped her, but then the guards also still beat me up, and but I got through it. And I didn't hurt, I didn't hurt anyone other than to stop the person who was attacking her, who was trying to get cred by going after the toughest,
Mm.
woman in the prison. And they just have like it's kind of that conversation. It's like, yep. And then they just talk about, fun, normal things. I'm like, they needed more of that with Angel.
I think
Like
Faith would have been a bet like having faith on Angel would have developed Angel's character more.
100%. I wish they had. I don't know if they never thought of it. I don't know if Eliza wasn't interested, but if it was a case of they never thought of it, I wish they had, because I think that
Yeah.
would have been so much better for the character and the series. I mean, no
Yeah.
offense to the other characters, has nothing, I mean, I love all the actors who played, the other main characters on the series. It's not a question of that. It's just more of a what would have been better for Angel's journey. And I think Faith could have helped him get there.
Yeah.
I mean, partly because she understood it, she had experienced it, and she did some really terrible stuff. I mean, I know, I mean, Anya and Spike are probably the other two, obviously, who have as you know terrible past. But like, what Willow did while it was terrible, it was like a one-time thing,
It was such a situational evil
right? Whereas
versus
like,
I am evil.
right. And even Faith was initially situational, but she embraced it and then just went on to do. I mean, I kind of forgot until rewatching the episodes for these discussions, like how many terrible things she had done.
Yeah. I mean, and she goes outside of the stuff that she does to Buffy and Riley and all that stuff and like, just going around just like beating people up and, killing people and just, there are dead bodies around when Faith shows up.
Right, absolutely. I mean, she kills that professor to get the book so that they don't know about
Hmm.
how the one ascended demon was taken out by the volcano. The demon she kills, yeah, the guy she attacks when she arrives in LA and
Hmm.
steals his apartment, and what she does to Wesley. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean, she tortures Wesley,
yeah,
like
yeah.
seriously, like I mean, she does a lot of evil things. This is the thing that I really appreciate. It's interesting. No one gave her the opportunity. And let me rephrase that. Angel gave her an opportunity. Angel
Hmm.
gave her space. But what she didn't have was the time to, she finally makes the decision to turn herself in. And that's where that's where it needed to go. But
Hmm.
she was always, running most I feel like Faith was running a lot because she was also being chased and
Yes,
hunted. Like she
yes.
knew that people were coming after her, and so she needed to keep running. But what Angel did was give her the time and the space to be like, let me stop running, let me like think about the things that I've actually done. And what choice do I need to make? Because that is how you start the redemptive path, is you have to make a choice to
Hmm.
change. And like Spike says, he made the choice to change. He was like, Angel, your soul was thrust upon you. It was
Hmm.
forced upon you. So maybe that is also the difference, is that is
It,
Angel changing only because he feels like he has to because of this curse, and now he's like trying to be a better person, but never truly wants to be a better person.
yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. And it's the fact that it's a curse, and curses are not positive. It's not positive magic, it's dark magic. And so it wasn't about like, oh, we want to reform this vampire. It was like, we want you to feel the pain that we felt when you raped and murdered our
So,
daughter.
so maybe that's what makes him different, and maybe that's
Yeah.
why he can't make those connections, because part of that curse is it's not even about like because the idea of like a moment of true happiness, maybe that's what it is that he can't make those connections. Like
Yeah.
and so he will always be like in the world, but never a part of it, and will always feel like slightly distant from everybody.
Which then calls into question, why didn't he go to get his soul anchored?
Mm,
And I think, I mean, there could be a lot of reasons why, and I don't mean just like real world logistics. I mean like within the actual, his world. I mean, it could be that he fears that whatever the soul that he does have, he would lose because Angelus would never actually want it. Whereas
right.
you don't have that personality bifurcation with Spike. Like he wanted it. Angel was his example. Like, I don't know if Spike would have thought of doing that without Angel as an example, so it helps. But there's no way in hell Angelus would ever choose to do that.
Right.
So, and maybe that's part of it. Maybe that part of him is always pulling on it. And so,
And
he can't fully, like you said, embrace the soul, not only because it is a curse, but because who he really is, who he was forced into, would never make that choice willingly.
right. And Orpheus, Angelus does
Hmm.
say he's like, I'm always like right there,
Right.
feeling the pain, feeling all of that. So maybe it is that like the that bifurcation that is the curse itself. It's not even that
Yeah.
he has a soul, it's that he is like this soul is like rubbing up against
He's
it.
always Jekyll and Hyde. Like,
Yeah,
there's one will never win, at least in the current state he's in.
which also makes a better case for Spike being the one that the prophecy is about, because
Oh,
a
yeah.
true champion like fought his natural urges, died to save the world,
Yep.
came back, fought and fought and fought and fought and fought. And so yeah, so
Well,
I
and
think maybe the prophecy is about Spike. Got it.
Jeff, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, also, to be fair, and we talked about this offline just before we started recording, but Angel really never, other than graduation day, never really stops an apocalypse. I mean, there might have been like some small moments in Angel the series, but he attempts to start one as Angelus, and then he basically does start one in Not Fade Away, whereas Spike, for sure, and pre-Soul helped in with Angelus to prevent Akatha. He helped with Glory. And then, of course, he was the main reason why they won in Chosen.
Right.
So, I mean, the evidence is there.
I mean, if you consider Jasmine as being sort of an apocalyptic
Oh,
event,
yeah, that's true.
you could say that that was one thing, but also there's debate about that because it's the whole reason why they get Wolfram and Hart in the first place is that the bad guys are like, you won, you stopped world peace. Way to go, guy.
Right, right. And also, part of the reason it was allowed to happen is because of Angel and his actions and wanting to lose his soul in Darla. So they
Yes,
have sex. So, like, again, it's
right.
kind of Angel's
So,
fault.
the whole thing kicks off because of his bad decision. Everything that
Exactly.
happens from that point on, you know,
Yeah.
because you feel bad about yourself, you used her to make yourself feel better.
Yep.
You're not evil, you're just a man. That's Cordelia. That Cordelia quote right there.
So perfect.
She was like, "You're not evil, you're just a man."
It's true.
Yeah.
True.
So yeah. But yes, but going, I feel like we derailed a little bit, but going back to
Yeah.
Faith, because
Faith, I
it's
know.
so easy to talk about Angel. And we clearly needed to like get
We
this
had
off our
exactly. I was just gonna say that. Ditto.
but going back, but again, Faith makes the choice to put herself in prison and to stay there again.
Hmm.
And while she's in prison, she's going to therapy. She's doing all
Hmm.
this, like she's actively doing things to make
Yep.
herself a better person.
Yes, yes, yes. 100%. Which is why I think I really love her attitude when she comes back in season 4 of Angel and season 7 of Buffy, because there's a humbleness to her
Hmm.
and a sense of like, I really am just here to help, and there I think she has moments of like apology, but she's also recognizes, I think particularly with Buffy and even before she turns herself in, when they have their confrontation in LA, when Buffy comes to help Angel because she thinks he's in trouble from Faith, she recognizes like, I have done so many horrible things to you, Buffy. Like, there's no apology,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. And I think eventually Buffy does too. And they sort of come to this like equilibrium in their relationship. So I really do love her journey. I mean, I particularly like her attitude when she is on her redemptive path. I think she's a great example
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, because she really does come into, I mean, granted, when she comes back for Angelus, like she comes in hot and strong. Like she
Hmm.
comes, I mean, she
Hmm.
comes in guns a-blazing. And then everything that she goes through in that when she goes to Sunnydale, she kind of softens and
Hmm.
knowing, and I think she does that too, knowing that she is about to walk into a really hostile environment, into a
Yeah.
place where she's hurt every single person in that room,
Yeah.
both emotionally, mentally, and physically harmed every single person that she's about to start working with again. And so she comes in very humble, very like,
I
I'm
think you,
here.
yeah. I think what you see both of Buffy and Faith do in that part of the season is, as is the theme of season 7, is they put the mission first. And you
Hmm.
really see that when in Empty Places, when her friends kick Buffy out of the house and she still is like, Faith, you have to take care of them and lead them.
Yeah,
Like she's, there's a part of her obviously that still loves them in spite of what they did. And she knows Faith is still the best person, that it's about
right.
the mission. The mission is what matters. And yeah, I mean, I think it's an incredible example of where their relationship has ended up.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think the fact that they're able to like even in the quiet moments, like sit and talk with each other. And, and there's like, and Faith coming back in season 7 of Buffy is, I mean, she's such a lighter, I mean, she's
mhm.
still like, rough and tumble, but she is so much lighter. You can feel the weight has been lifted off of her. So to
Yeah.
me, she does have a redemption arc.
Yep.
She is redeemed, which is why she's able to like continue on this path. And then, like was said, like when you go into the comics, she's like, I'm redeemed, I've done it, but I've done what I've came here to do. I've done the thing, and now I want to move on to something else because I don't need to be the only one. And I only came out because we're in this like huge big fight. I don't want to do
Yeah.
this anymore. I want to be a different person. And I think to me that kind of gives a nice like arc of redemption. To me, that is like, oh, she feels redeemed.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Where Angel is stuck. Yeah.
Which I can see why Eliza would turn down a spinoff.
Yeah.
Um, because they're probably, I mean, not that you couldn't do a spinoff, but I can understand as like maybe an actor like feeling like there's not necessarily that much more to explore
Hmm.
in the character.
Yeah. And that maybe that's why why she didn't want to do Angel as much or whatever, have as
Right,
many
right.
episodes too. Because yeah, the spinoff was supposed to be the initial pitch was Faith, Robin Wood, and Spike, I
Oh,
think.
that's right. That's
In
right.
the
Yeah,
spinoff, that's what they said at Hellmouth Con, when they were doing. That's what DB Woodside said
that's right.
at the panel because he was approached about the spinoff. So it was going to be Faith and Robin and I think Spike as the third for the spinoff, but Eliza did not want to do it. But DB Woodside, I think James and DB were both on board to do something, but alas, we did not get that.
The what ifs.
Right.
Yep.
Oh my goodness.
So Spike.
Yeah,
Well,
speaking of Spike.
yeah, I mean, as far as redemptive story arcs go, I would say he's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
For sure. I think it's really interesting. We've kind of said, a good bit about his already. And again, we didn't talk about, well, I talked about this in specific to Angel, but in spite of what initially was said on Buffy, they sort of changed their tune later on, particularly in Doppelgangland. But what you begin to realize as we meet more vampires and like we get to know them as like real characters, they're not just, cannon fodder that Buffy slays every night, but like Angel, Drusilla, Spike, Darla, Harmony, Vamp Willow, Vamp Xander, and the Wish, that who they were as humans definitely plays into who they are as vampires.
Yeah.
And so, we've talked about in already in Spike's episodes about his romantic relationship. I mean, he is so driven by his heart.
Yeah,
And I think that makes a difference for his storyline as well.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because as we just said earlier, like he is involved in the world, even as a vampire, and then when he gets that chip, he does start to form relationships, even as tenuous as they are. And I think actually, you were talking about we saw the whole arc of Angel's storyline on Buffy in that one episode. I think whether they intended it or not, I think the fact that Giles makes that comment to Spike in season 4, like, what if this chip has a greater purpose? He was right. I think in the end they that pans out. Whether they knew that back then, whether the show writers and creator knew that back then or not, or if it just developed as they were figuring out what they wanted to do with Spike's character. It's true. I think it's true. It did lead to a greater purpose.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's one of those things that it was the pause that he needed in his evil doings that allowed him the space to go, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What can I do? Like
Yep.
now that there's this barrier, now that I have to stop being evil
Yeah.
for a minute. What does that mean for me? When the bloodlust is like not pumping in my head, when like this, what does that mean for me? I'm
Hmm.
still evil. That hasn't changed,
Right.
but now I can't do anything about it. So where do I put that energy? What do I do with that? And again, he starts off not, not even doing good things. He's still messing with the Scoobies. He's still, you
Right.
know, playing mind games and doing all this other stuff and working with Adam and doing like he's still not a good person, but in the fighting of the demons, which he doesn't care about, so who cares? Like, great. I can, as long as I can kill things, that satisfies that lust. It doesn't matter
Right.
what it is. But it's that proximity to Buffy, and it is the proximity to her mission and who she is that begins to, like, that changes who he is and how he sees himself in relationship to the world and what
Hmm.
he can do in the world. Because he says in the end, that speech at the end, he says, I see you. And you were like he was like, I've done some terrible things, things
Yeah.
that I wish you couldn't even imagine. But it's you. You were the thing that changed me and made me this person.
Right. And it doesn't matter if you love me or not. It's not
Yeah,
about that. It's about what you do. And I love who you
who
are
you
and how
are.
you try.
Yeah,
You inspired me to do that.
to be a better
Hmm.
person. And granted, there is the argument of did he go get his soul because he wanted to be a better person? And Angel says, "Oh, I thought you did it to get into somebody's pants."
Yeah.
Two things can be true at the same time, honestly.
Yeah.
I think most men, I think most men change their, behavior when they find someone who they want to spend that time with, who they want to become a better person for their wife and or husband or whatever. I think that's sort of human nature.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I think he obviously did it for Buffy. I lean towards more. I don't think he necessarily did it to ensure that he would still have a romantic relationship with her,
Hmm.
but that he was so horrified that he could even hurt her in that way,
Hmm.
in spite of their toxic relationship. I don't think he ever really saw it as like fully saw it as toxic. I think he knew she didn't always treat him right, but I think he was so used to not being treated well by his romantic partners that it wasn't out of the norm for him, but he always saw himself as like sort of he doesn't hurt women that way.
Right. At
And
least not now. I think before, I think probably yes. In his early days of being a vampire, I get the implication because he tells Dawn, he's like, "Do you know what I've done to little girls, even
no,
younger?"
he tells Buffy that, okay, so yes, he does say that. I have issue with that speech. So here's the thing. I can't tell if we're supposed to actually take that seriously or he's just trying to scare Buffy off because, like, don't get me wrong. I get it. Spike has done horrible things throughout his existence as a vampire up to the chip. And even though, he still wasn't, like you said, he wasn't good when he got the chip, but like he was incapable of doing like that level of violence. I really have a hard time thinking he was as much of a sexual assaulter as
Mhm.
Angelus was.
Yeah.
And not because like he didn't not because he like maybe because he couldn't be capable of it. I mean, he certainly had no conscience. It's more just who he has shown us over the years. He's about the brawl, he's about the like challenge.
Hmm.
And again, not that he hasn't like obviously, killed families because he tells Dawn that story in season 5 about the
Yeah.
little girl in the coal bin. But I do think there's a difference between Evil Spike and Angelus.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
I just felt like that was like I couldn't tell. Like, are we supposed if we're supposed to take him seriously, I think that's an incorrect aspect of the character. Like, I think that's what's the word I'm looking for? Not character assassination, but it's, a characterization of him. If it's not, if we're not supposed to take it seriously, okay, well, then it makes sense to me because he's just trying to push Buffy off. Like,
Mm,
he's doing the whole, like, I feel horrible. I feel so guilty. And I also know, like, I'm causing so much problems because I'm under this control of whatever this entity is. Like, just take me out, Buffy. And he's like pushing her to do that.
right.
And if that's what they're doing in the scene, then it works for me. If it's the other way around, I got issues. Again, so anyway, because to me, if that is true, it takes even more away from like what happened between them in the bathroom and his reaction
Hmm.
to that. Again, not that he couldn't previously have, you know, sexually assaulted a woman and not cared about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he had, particularly in those early days where
Hmm.
Angelus is
With
training him
being
up.
with Angel. Yeah.
Yeah, that I would believe, but I feel like post Angelus, when it's just him and Drew, he's so devoted to Drew. I just don't see that as an aspect of him. That's really why. Again, it's not so
Yeah.
much about capacity or capability, it's more kind of I don't know what the right
Desire
word is.
to. I mean,
Yeah,
he
like
like
where
the
his attention lies.
yeah.
Yes, agreed. So, yeah,
Because
so sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was saying like because like you can tell like he knows that he's crossed a line with Buffy.
Right,
Like he
right.
knows he was like, this is the line that dare not be crossed, and I just crossed it. And now I need to go and like make up for it in some way, shape, or form. Like, and I think he's like spiraling so quickly after that that he's like, I have to make this right as soon as possible because this is the thing that I can't do to this person that that I love and care about. Like, how do I fix this? How do I do this? And granted, the line, I'm gonna give this bitch exactly what she deserves feels.
Well,
I
that
think
that's
it's one of those lines that was written to be intentionally obtuse so that we as the audience don't know the intention of what's happening. So I always take that. I mean, everyone uses that line as sort of like, well, why did he say that? He didn't do. But I think that that was a
I see
red
it as a
herring.
I was gonna say I see it as a plot device
Yeah.
because they didn't want you to know yet if he was getting a soul or the chip out.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Or
don't take
what he
it.
was going to do because at that
Yeah,
point we didn't know like what was
true,
happening. So
true. I agree. I don't take that as like his actual attitude. I take that as a
yeah,
plot device or, like you said, a red herring.
just to, you know, just for us, that's a line for the audience, not
Yeah,
for anybody else to keep
right,
us off this, distracted from what's actually going on.
right.
Because everything he says afterwards is the contrary of that one line.
Hmm.
Like literally everything. He's like, I did it for you. Like he was like,
Hmm.
I did this because of what I did to you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, and you deserve a better person. And I'm trying to be that. And I know that we can't be together like that, but I at least want to be a person that you can be in your orbit and deserves to be in your orbit.
Yeah. So, what do you think of his, like, where he is on his redemption path?
I mean, honestly, it's interesting because I mean, he does go through this huge redemption arc, and
Hmm.
I think he does redeem himself on Buffy. I think he
Hmm.
actually no, well, I kind of go back and forth because I think it is kind of nice for him to be on Angel because I think in Angel is really where he gets to experience redemption and
How so?
experience what that looks like because he gets to come back. I mean, he's trapped in freaking Wolfram and Hart for the first half of season 5, which is ridiculous. Forget how long he's like non-corporeal for like the first 10 episodes, which is insane. And he like
Yeah, I mean, it's close to like 6 months
yeah,
based on like the little bits of like time indications we get.
so he's like stuck in this sort of limbo for a lot of it, but even in that we start to see the change in him. We have
Hmm.
seen like if he didn't die in this situation, this is the man who he would have been. This is the man that he is post Sunnydale.
Hmm.
He's kinder. He still likes to brawl. He's still, but he is softer. He is not as, he's still cheeky and still, all of
Yeah.
that stuff, but he is a different person. He's more serious. He's more thoughtful about things. Like his relationship with Fred is so sweet.
Yeah.
He's like he looks at her and he sees her and she sees him. And I think like that's the thing that a lot of times I think Angel doesn't do, or at least we don't get the sense that it like sees them for those people. He does with Cordelia, but nobody else really. And it feel, at least that's how it feels. Again, my Angel knowledge is, thinner for sure because
Right.
I've only watched Angel like all the way through like maybe 5 times or something like that.
Yeah.
As opposed to like the hundreds of times that I've watched Buffy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I haven't really done as much of an analysis of all the things, but
Yeah.
I just feel like he's on his way. And then even in what's the name of that episode where they're fighting over the cup?
Oh,
Uh
Destiny.
Destiny, he wins. And I think if you're going by, even though the prophecy was fake, they both thought that it was real. And
Hmm.
that's the, like, to me, that's the important part is that you thought it was real and you
Right.
all were fighting to the death to get to that cup because you both wanted to be the one. And Angel says he wanted it more. In the win, he beat me and he wanted it more. And so that's why I think, like, to me, Spike has like the better trajectory, I think, in
Hmm.
terms of redemption, and we get to see it. And then we get to see him be the hero that Angel used to be.
So, any other thoughts on Angel, Faith, Spike,
So
and
I'm,
their
yeah,
redemptive arcs?
I mean, out of those, I mean, how do you feel about their redemption? Like, do you feel like any of them
Are they redeemed?
redeemed?
I agree. I think Faith is on her way. It's definitely in a really good place. I mean, how do you define somebody being redeemed? I think Angel's got a long way to go because he just does not learn his lessons.
Hmm.
And I think Spike is in a good place. I think, again, because there's a longer history of evil acts, he
Hmm.
probably still has some ways to go, but I think he's on the right path. And I think he either needs to be more enveloped into the Angel team if they were to go forward, or he needs to figure out a place for himself to keep that path going and somewhere where he's appreciated and he has people supporting him. I mean, whether that's working with Buffy and the council or forming his own, team in another city or, working with Faith in Cleveland, if that's, where she was
Right.
kind of situation. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think Faith and Spike are further along on their path than Angel for sure.
Yeah, I think based on our discussion and when you add in the curse, I wonder if Angel can ever be redeemed because of that
Yeah.
curse. Like it's a losing battle for him, and maybe that's
Hmm.
also leads to a lot of the broodiness. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna do it anyway, even though I know
Yeah.
that I will never be like satiated. I will never feel
Right.
that light again because of this curse." Where I think, Faith is definitely like on the pathway to redemption. I think Spike is definitely on the pathway to redemption.
Hmm.
And even though it's not necessarily canon, but like when you look at who he is in the Audible series Slayers, like to
Hmm.
me, that is such a like he's still like, get away from me, kid, get away from me, kid. But still he's like, being a mentor to a younger person, like trying to
Hmm.
do what's right, trying to like lead the next generation on. So to me that and in a way that is, in a positive way. So I think that he is definitely on his road to redemption.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too that like using like you said, even though it isn't canon, using the Slayer's story from Audible as an example, when again when they do like a red herring and you think he's turned in order to get back with Drusilla, that was never a red herring to me. Like I didn't worry about that because
Yeah.
I knew his sense of purpose and because he chose to go for the soul, like he wouldn't turn. Like it would be he has earned that too much, and it means too much to him
Yeah.
that he was just playing, the role in order to stop Drusilla.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, so this discussion has turned into a long one. So we're going to do this as a two-parter. So this is part one. And so we hope you'll come back for the rest of our discussion for the other characters that have redemptive story arcs in the Buffyverse. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what we've talked about so far, or just redemption in general in the Buffyverse. You can email us at abuffypodcast@gmail.com, and you can find us on all the social media platforms at a Buffy Podcast. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.